Hello and welcome to another demonstrational and instructional video. This time it's the 2019 Burstner Ixeo Limited I746. So as always, we'll run around the outside and then we'll move on to the controls on the inside. So the purpose of this is to show you the main controls and how they operate so that you can effectively use your motorhome. So first things first, here we have the passenger door. Next to that is the diesel, so this is where your fuel goes into there. You do need the key for that, so we'll run through the keys when you pick it up, but that's where your diesel fuel goes. Just on the end of here there's a indicator to tell you what your tyre pressures are. It's worth actually referring to the tyres themselves, because this, I would have thought, and looking at it, it probably does have specialist camping tyres, but that's an indication to your tyre pressures. As we go into this footwell here, there is a small switch just there. What that does is it connects basically the heating of the motorhome and connects it to the heating of the engine. So if you wanted to heat your engine up before you set off, and then if you switch that pump on, what it does is it circulates the warm cooling the warm coolant and the plumbing through into the engine, so it heats your engine up prior to setting off. So basically it connects the engine heating to your motorhome heating. The bonnet release catch is just on the end of the dashboard, just in here. You probably can't see that, but there's just a little lever that you pull to release the bonnet catch. While we're here, I'll just show you the swivel seats. So both of the driver and the passenger seats are captain's chairs that will swivel, and in order to do that, it's that lever just there, and they're pulled across like so. So you pull it that way, it will allow you to swivel the seat, and exactly the same on this side here. So if I turn that, it's allowing me to turn the seat around. Okay, so we'll go and have a look underneath the bonnet. Okay, so with the bonnet up, and the catch is in the centre, so when you're putting the bonnet back down, in order to get the bonnet catch to engage, you've got to press on the centre of the bonnet. I'll show you that when we close the bonnet. The bonnet catch is just here and goes into this here, so when it's stowed away, it goes into that yellow clip just there. Alright, so under here we have washer fluid, coolant reservoir, engine oil fill, dipstick. The brake fluid reservoir is there. If you ever need to jump start this vehicle or jump start another vehicle from it, the positive terminal to do that is just underneath this catch here. Sometimes you need a key for this, so if you put the key in that front little slot there, it reveals a metal tab, and the positive or red cable goes onto that tab there, and that's your positive side. So your positive side onto there, and then if you can get your black or earth cable onto that solid, it's like a chassis engine mount, that will give you an earth. Okay, so when closing the bonnet, I'll just stow that away. You can see there that that catch goes into that mechanism there. You've got to push in basically where that catch is into the centre of the bonnet in order for that to close. So we'll work on our way around the motorhome. So you can see there we've got the awning lights lit up, they're controlled from inside. Main entrance door, obviously. Okay, so this is the external barbecue point. So if you wanted a gas heater or a barbecue outside, then you can connect into the main supply of gas that you've got coming from your bottles. So this feeds into the bottles that are around the other side of the motorhome. In order to do that, you just take that rubber bung off the end, like so, and then there's a metal fitting that's required to go into here, and that pushes in and that gives you a gas seal. And then the other side of that metal tube, and it's only about that long, one side goes into there, and then the other side that's poking out of that, you push your hose onto. So you have a flexible hose that goes off onto your barbecue that's on the floor here. So that's how it's connected. I will get you one of those, and I'll show you that in a bit more detail when you collect the vehicle. In order to release that metal tube that goes into here, you just push this collar back here. So this section here, when you put the metal tube in the end, that sort of pushes forward, this collar pushes forward so that it's level with the end of this here, and then to release it you push it back and it pops out the metal tube. To switch the gas supply on to this tap, you turn this lever here. So you turn it that way. It will only let you turn this tap when it's got the attachment in the end for safety reasons. Okay, so you've got the key that operates that little hatch, shaped like those, so it's that key. Underneath that we've got the toilet's cassette, so all the waste that goes into the toilet ends up in this cassette. In order to empty this, you just pull up this lever like so and then slide this out. There's an indicator on the toilet itself to tell you when this requires emptying, but it'll become a bit more clear when I go inside, but you can actually see into this, so you'll be able to see the level. In order to get this out there, and you just pull. Okay, and then to empty it, slide that nozzle forward, take off the bung on the end, unscrew the cap. So with that unscrewed, then you just turn this over, pour away the waste. As you're pouring the waste away, press this button in here, it lets air in as the liquid is coming out of the end, and it stops it from glugging. It just lets, you know, it shoots straight out, and then it doesn't splash back. This cassette is designed to take a chemical, whether it be green, the biodegradable, or most commonly the blue chemical. So once you've emptied it, what I would tend to do is fill it back up full of fresh water, swill the whole cassette around, and then empty it again so that you've got a completely clean cassette. And then slide this cover back here and turn this lever, and that gives you access into this cassette. That's where you would put the chemical in once you've emptied the cassette. It's worth just putting a little bit of water into the bottom of this cassette along with the chemical, and then it's ready to use again. In order to get the cassette back in, this must be closed like so, so that must be pointing that way, and then just put the the cover back over the mechanism. It does have a handle, an extendable handle, which you pull up like so, and it's got wheels so that you can wheel it over to the waste disposal point. When you're putting this back in, just make sure that the handle's back in like so, and that is pointing that way. It won't go back in if that's not pointing that way. And then you just simply line the wheels up on the groove that you can see there and slide this back in. You know when it's fully home because that little handle sits into the groove there. Okay, so that's your toilet waste. The next one along from that is an external power source. So if you wanted lights, so you're sitting outside and you want a light outside, or you know, if it's good weather and you're watching television outside under your canopy perhaps, then this will give you a main supply for the outside of the vehicle. So you need to be plugged into a main supply on the other side of the vehicle, and this gives you a main supply out of the vehicle. You do need an adapter for that, like you would take abroad. When you go abroad, you can see it's got two pins here, there and there, so you need that adapter to go from 2 pins to 3 pins as you would take abroad with you. That's a 12 volt supply outside the motorhome, and again, to get a cigarette type, the size of the cigarette type 12 volt, there is an adapter that's required. They're called Adaptit 5 that are required for this. So it's a slightly thinner aperture. You put the adapter into there, and then it gives you a cigarette size outlet. So that's for 12 volts. So you've got mains electric and 12 volts. Moving on then, we've got the garage. So you've got a large storage area here that's lit, switchable. You've got tie down points. They're movable up and down this rail by just simply unscrewing them like so. The awning winder is here. We have got a separate video on our YouTube channel. I'll try to remember to put the link into this video to instruct you on how to operate the awning. There is actually two little brackets there and there that you can put this handle into, so it's not I'll put that back in before I complete the video. They're just chocks to stop when the vehicle's parked. It just stops the vehicle from rolling. And then you've got your toolkit just here with a jack. It is worth noting that the jack within this isn't all that great. If you plan on jacking the motorhome up, it might be worth carrying a more robust jack. Okay, so you've got access to that from both sides. There's another door hatch on the other side, which we'll have a look at in a minute. We've got tow ball. This has got a bike rack. So to operate the bike rack, you lift up. So you can see there, I've just lifted those bars up, and then this pulls down like so. Put the bikes onto these bike wheels onto these rails here, and then these catches go over the. You can see they're like buckles. To undo them, you just press that in and take that out. Your bike wheels sit into those racks, and you put those over the bike wheels to keep the wheels in position on the rails. So you've got one wheel there, keeping those in position, and then you bring these down and they go over the crossbars. So you can see you've got different lengths there, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4 bikes. They would attach to the crossbars on the bikes to keep those bikes safely in position. And you can see it just pushes back on like so, and these can be brought down when the bike rack isn't in use. Got your reverse camera up there. When it is wet, it's obviously you're going to get moisture building up on the lens there. Just take that into account when it is wet. Sometimes you can get a little bit of a distorted vision through that reverse camera. The other side of the garage then, it doesn't actually have a spare wheel. We've got the puncture repair kit should you be unlucky enough to get a puncher, and again it's just access to the quite substantial storage that you've got with this model. Okay, next one along then, we've got an external shower on this model. So let's say you've been on the beach and you want to shower off your feet, or dog owners quite like it, or you want to clean off your boots if you've been on a long walk. So you've got the shower nozzle with a trigger on the end that switches the when it's connected, that switches the shower head on, and then the other end of it, if I can get it, is an attachment that looks like this. Okay, so that end of the attachment goes into here. See, there's a little nozzle cut out where that peg goes into, and you just push it on. That's quite similar to the gas supply thing that I showed you on the other side. So that's your shower head connected. That adjusts your temperature, and that switches on the pump. Okay, so I'll just show you how this disconnects, and it might give you a better idea about your gas. So that's pushed in with the collar pushed forward. I'm pushing that collar back, and it's letting me release this. So as I push that in, that collar springs forward. Okay, so that's the external shower. That just feeds off the water tank, which we'll come to in a minute. So the mains water tank that you're filling just here. Next to that, we've got the gas locker. Okay, so this will take 2 gas bottles. They're secured in position. You sit the gas in these positions here, and then you put these around the gas bottle to secure those in position. You're going to need some flexible hoses. So what this is here is a gas regulator. Okay, so that regulates the pressure that's coming off the gas bottles. So the gas bottles are high pressure. This regulates the pressure so that it's consistent, and it goes into the motorhome. With this valve here, you can actually select which bottle you want to use. So you can see that little thing there is pointing over this way, so that would be using this bottle. And then if you want to, you can put it in the middle, it'll use both. And then if you put it over to that side, that's indicating it's over here, so that will be using this bottle. There's a gas isolation, an electronic valve here. So inside the motorhome, which I'll show you, there's a switch which will switch this device on. So you can switch your gas on from inside the motorhome to prevent you having to sort of come out and switch your gas taps on top of your bottles, basically. So you can switch your gas on and off from inside the motorhome. Those flexible hoses that are required, I'll get you those. Okay, so we're on then to, sorry, just worth mentioning, in here there's this little tap lever. So what this does, so you got this lever like this. What this does is connects onto that bar there, like so, and that empties your wastewater. So there's an indication on your control panel to tell you how full or empty your fresh and wastewater is, and if your wastewater needs emptying, you put this key onto here, this lever onto here, and turn like so. Okay, so we do need to empty this out. I think there is some water actually in the van at the moment, so I'll make sure that's all emptied out for you. So that's what that is, and I'll leave it in this locker here. Okay, so the next thing along, that's a vent for the boiler. When the boiler's in operation, particularly on gas, it's going to need to exhaust its fumes. So when the boiler is operating on gas, you'll see steam rising from here like you would on your boiler at home. So it's important that that's kept clean and free of debris, because the boiler needs to obviously exhaust its gases. So that's what that is. In here, this is where the mains supply comes into your motorhome via a cable. So what you do is you put the cable in like so, put it into that little recess, and then it allows you to close the door with the cable attached. Okay, so that's where the cable goes into, that's your main supply. Okay, that is a Truma iNet box. So it's got the facility to be able to control your heating remotely. So if you wanted to, you could set this up. You do need a SIM card for it. It allows you to switch the heating off remotely, basically. These two taps here, and this is coming on to the most important part of the instructional video. Whenever the motorhome's not in use, particularly in very cold conditions, it's absolutely imperative that you drain all the water out of it. In really cold conditions, if water's left in these pipes here and in this water tank, it'll expand, it'll turn to ice, expand and crack all this plumbing. So it's deadly important that these are drained down. You've got two levers in here. One is for the plumbing system basically, and one will drain the boiler down. These are probably the most important valves that you need to take care of. So at the moment they're closed. In order to open them, you push them up like so, and you'll see we've got water coming on out of the motorhome at the bottom. So what that's doing is it's draining the water out of the plumbing, so all the pipe work that leads to your taps, it's draining that out. And then this one here is for the boiler. So you've got two taps there that need to be drained down, and when you do that, then it just spills onto the floor. In order to get the motorhome operational and usable, they do have to be closed, so they must look like that in order to well, get water out of your taps basically. This is your fresh water tank. Okay, so to fill this up, this is your what feeds your water supply for the whole motorhome. So you just take that nozzle off the end, and in order to prevent drips and spills when you're filling it up, if you just put that on there, it's quite a neat little thing. It stops any spillages when you're filling up the water tank. So what you do is you just put a hose pipe straight into there and fill up the tank. It's quite opaque, this tank, so you can actually see the water level rising in the tank, but again there is an indication on the control panel to show you how full or empty the tank is. Okay, that's just access into the tank. Should you need to clean it or gain access into the tank, you just unscrew that make sure that's put back on very tight, because obviously as you're filling it, if there's any if it's not tight, you'll get water spilling out of this seal. In order to drain the freshwater tank down, it's this tap on the top of the tank here. Okay, so it'll take 120 litres, this tank. If you want to, you can drain it down to 20 litres to allow you to calculate your weight. So 20 litres of water is 20 kilos. Okay, so if you turn this clockwise all the way, so it's just finger tight, don't over tighten it, then it's closed, the valve is closed, and all the water will be retained in the tank. In order to drain it down to 20 litres, you just turn this anti-clockwise until you hear a click. Okay, so it's just click there. If you just take it beyond that click, that will take you down to your 20 litres. If you then just give it another sort of 2 turns, that will completely drain the tank down. Don't over tighten or over undo this, because you'll damage the mechanism. And as you can see, water's draining out onto the floor there from the tank. So I'm gonna leave that open actually, because we'll drain all the water out for you. Okay, so that's probably one of the most important things that must be done in winter. In freezing conditions, if water is left in there, you could have a very expensive issue with water freezing within the tank. To close all these levers, what you do is you can see there, that's open, that closes it. You might be able to see there's a little red ring around here, so if I take the key, lock it, and then push that in, okay, that's locked. So if I unlock it, you see the little red ring has come out, so that means it's unlocked. Okay, so I'm inside the motorhome now. I've just come in through the main entrance door. I'll run through the controls here. As you can see, we've got the telly on, that's all tuned in and working. Come to the TV aerial in a sec, but I'll run through the obvious things here. This little device here is a thermostat for the heating, so that's picking up the temperature. As you lift this panel up here, this is your main control panel for the Burstner. Okay, so to switch everything on, it's a simple press on this wheel in the centre, and then if you turn this wheel around, it'll allow you to scroll through these things here. Okay, so first things first is your time. Next one along is your wastewater, so 0%. Fresh water, we'll just letting that drain out there now, so it's giving a little bit of a reading. I will say that the reading sensors aren't deadly accurate. It's just an indication as to a rough idea. It'll only give you a sort of snapshot of where the freshwater readings are, as well as the wastewater. Next one along is the engine battery. So you can see it's showing a battery in the cab. So we've got 12.4 volts in your engine battery. Next one along is your vehicle battery. Now that's actually being charged, and we've got all the systems running up, so we're actually plugged in. So we're actually plugged in at the moment. So that's giving you a snapshot of what condition your leisure battery's in. That's just the on and off button, so if you're in that position, you press the wheel in the centre, it'll tell you, it'll allow you to switch it on and off. Temperature inside the motorhome, temperature inside the motorhome, temperature outside the motorhome. That switches your water pump on and off. Now, in order to pump water from your freshwater tank, which I showed you on the outside, through all the pipe work and out of your taps, what you need to do is, when you first fill up your freshwater tank, come to your control panel, switch your pump on, like so, then come over to your taps, open up your tap on hot, so it's a single lever tap. You just turn it over to the hot side and lift it up, and wait until you get a pure flow of water coming out of your tap, What that means is that you've pushed all the air out of the pipework, you've filled up the boiler, and now you're getting a pure flow of water coming out of your tap. So the boiler will take probably 11 litres of water. So if you switch your boiler on without you doing this process that I've just run through, you're just heating thin air in your boiler. Okay, so you need to purge the water system through by opening up your tap. First do it on hot, then move it over to cold and switch it on and wait until you get a pure flow of water coming out of here. Then you know that there's no air locks in the plumbing system, and then you can switch your boiler on. So you must do it on that side, and also do it in the bathroom, and do it on your shower as well, and then you know that there's no air locked in the system. Similarly, when you're doing the drain down procedure, which I showed you on the outside, it's really important to make sure that these taps are open. Okay, so open up all your taps like so in the middle, because what that'll do is it'll let air in as the liquid and the water is flowing out of the motorhome underneath. If you leave that closed, you're just airlocking it so that the air is preventing the water from draining out of your tap. It is very common for water to freeze in the cartridge of this tap, and it'll expand and it'll crack the tap. So if you're not using your motorhome in winter and it's going to be laid up in cold conditions, open up your taps and obviously drain all the water how I showed you outside. Okay, so that's your control panel. This is an indication to tell you that you're plugged into mains, which we are at the moment. Next one along then is your heating. Okay, so you switch the heating control panel on and off via that button there. This is indicating that we've got a main supply coming in, and we're at 11.5 degrees. You press the menu button. The top controls here are your temperature that you want to select in the motorhome. So you can see there we're at 22 degrees. I've selected that already, and if you want to adjust it, you just press up and down on here. So I've taken that up to 24 degrees there. To heat your water, it's the one underneath, so you can select what level of water heat you want. If it was me, I'd just leave it on the hot, mix it with the cold, and then you've got a lot of warm water. So that's the water heater controls. I'm going to switch that off because there's no water in the boiler. Next one down is your power selection. So at the moment we're running on 3 kilowatt electric element, so that's heating the motorhome on electric only. You can deselect this, so you're going down to a lower kilowatt by pressing that there. So you've got off, 1 kilowatt, 2 kilowatts or 3 kilowatts. The reason for that is if you're on a low ampage site, let's say it's an 8 amp site, then the chances of you being able to run your boiler at 3 kilowatts without blowing the fuse are slim. So that's the reason that they allow you to select that option. If you're running your microwave and you've got a load of other electrical appliances running, you won't be able to run this on 3 kilowatts. The next one down is gas. So if you select that, then the motorhome heating and water will run on gas. Now at the moment, you can see it's green. We haven't got a gas bottle on, so in a second that will fail. It means that it's trying to ignite on gas, but it can't because there's no gas supply. When you first connect your gas bottles, it might fail 2 or 3 times because it needs to draw the gas through to the boiler in order to ignite. Okay, so we can see here the gas has failed because we've not got any gas connected. So the reasons for that are obvious. It won't ignite without any gas. So I'm going to switch that off, and then we're just back to running on electric. You've got a settings menu where you can select the heating to come on at a certain time, go off at a certain time, etc. But for now, that's the basic functions of your heating. So again, your TV, I've got that up and running. Your TV remote's just there. Your lighting switches are here, and then you've got zoned lighting, which is in 4 zones there, which you can select yourself. You've got underfloor storage via these hatches. You've got 2 of those. The one that is just there has got the ladder in it for the rear bed. Right, onto the front systems then. Underneath this here, this side bench seat, we've got a circuit breaker. Okay, so that's like a domestic circuit breaker that you would have at home. It isolates the electric supply should there be a short circuit on the motorhome somewhere. So with these pointing upwards, it means we're you know, functioning and ready to go. If they flip down, then there's a short circuit somewhere. There's a little test button there, that blue button. If you press that and these flip down, it means that you've got a main supply coming into your motorhome. It's just a quick test. This motorhome's been fitted with a power inverter, which is housed just there with its own isolation switch. You can see that red button there switches the inverter on and off. What an inverter does is change your 12 volt power supply and gives you a 240 volt power supply. It's switched on and off here via this button. We're plugged in at the moment, so there's no need to switch that on, but that's where that is housed. So it changes your DC 12 volt current to an AC mains current. So it will drain your battery very quickly, but it'll give you the ability to use very low wattage appliances just from your battery supply. This has got the A-class bed, which drops down from the roof here. In order to get that down, you must put the seats down. To get those down, it's the 1/4 of a turn on this little thing on the side here, and both of those need to go down, so I'll do that now. Okay, so that's the seats down, and then to get the bed down, you lift this up like so, and that will allow you to lower the bed. Okay, so that's your A-class bed. Okay, so the oven and grill, fairly straightforward. There's not much I can say about that. Your controls are on the front here, and there's an igniter. Okay, fridge. This will run on 3 power supplies. So to switch it on, press that button. Okay. Now it'll run on mains electric, gas, or 12 volt. The 12 volt will only run when the engine is running. So it is to keep it cool while you're traveling. It's very inefficient on that system. It's to keep it cool while you're traveling. You need to get it cold first on either gas or electric. So if I want now, I can select the electric button, and that's running on electric. So I'm manually selecting electric, manually selecting gas, and again, you know, you need gas supply for this to work, and it will probably, if you've only just connected your gas up, go to fail because it's not drawn enough gas through the pipework in order to ignite on the fridge. Okay, so that's gas, and then the next one along, if you select it manually, is 12 volt. It's bleeping at us to say we haven't got a 12 volt supply coming in from the engine. And then the next one along is auto. So this will automatically do it all for you. It will select the most relevant power source from these. So it'll test for electric first, then it'll try and find gas. And if it finds a 12 volt supply from the engine for transit cooling, it'll select that. So if you press A, so you've got A, and you can see that it's worked it out and it's selected mains electric. This will allow you to adjust your temperature. So on a really cold day, there's no point putting it on full. On a really cold day, you want it down here, and on a hot day, you want the fridge to work harder and be up here. So it's relevant to the sort of climatic conditions. So if you've got a hot day, you want the fridge to work harder. If you put it on full in a really cold day, it'll just ice up. So to open the fridge, it's the handle on the side. If you leave this fridge closed, static air or stagnant air will build up in here. It'll start to smell. There's a little catch here that you can pull out, and it allows you to leave the fridge slightly ajar so that fresh air can circulate around the fridge. You've got your freezer box at the top. Okay, we fitted a microwave for this customer, and you can see that's neatly housed in there. Right, the these controls here, so these are just blanks up until this point. That switches on the gas supply, you know, the electric valve that I showed you in the gas locker, that switches that on and off. So if that's got to be switched on in order to get gas flowing through the motorhome. You've just got your zonal light switches here, which will allow you to switch various zones on and off just via your 4 segments there. This is the lowerable bed. Okay, so this has got a safety thing with a key in it. Put the key into here, turn the key, press down on here, and your bed lowers. Okay, so to get the bed all the way down, it is necessary to remove the cushions from the back to get the bed all the way down, and the ladder for the bed is just under there. And then to get the bed back up, press the button again. It's electrically operated. When the customer viewed this motorhome, it needed a new mechanism for the table. So to operate the table, you just pull that out and it supports this leaf table that goes across like so. So that's the leaf mechanism all repaired. It needed a new hinge. In this cupboard here are some lights that you can remove. They charge up on those little ports there. So you remove these lights and you can switch them on. So you can take them outside, use them as a torch, and you can actually extend them as well. So that's the light extended, just little lamps that you can move around. So they charge up on the charging ports, which you can see there. So in this cupboard, which is next to the fridge, that's where the TV aerial is. In order to get the TV pushed up through the roof, you just unscrew this little collar, and then it'll allow you to push this pole up and down and twizzle it around to get a better television signal. Just make sure, obviously, that that's pulled down before you set off, otherwise you could catch trees because that's pushing up through the roof. You can separate off this section at the back, the rear lounge, by pushing on that little lever there, and it allows you to close this door off. So it separates off the lounge area from the rest of the motorhome. You can see that little peg goes into a catch. It's necessary to push that little lever up there. So we've got your TV operational in the back as well as the front. There we go. And the TV remote is just here. This little winder is for the bed, and at the moment, I must admit, I'm not 100% sure where this winder goes. So on the day that you collect, I'll run through that with you in a bit more detail once I've found out exactly where that goes. And obviously I'll make it clear what that actually does. Okay, we're reaching the end now, and it's been a long video this, but hopefully it's a comprehensive one to show you how everything works. Okay, so we've got the toilet. In order to use the toilet, lift the lid up, open this lever which is on the side here, and what that does is it opens and closes the valve which I showed you on the cassette outside. So open that up, use the toilet, and then your flush is this blue button here. You've got to have your water pump switched on for that to work, and when the cassette is becoming full, a little light illuminates there, but in all honesty you can actually see how full it's becoming by viewing down that hatch. You do need to close this up while you're travelling. Obviously, if you've got nearly a full toilet waste cassette and you're travelling around and it's sloshing about, you don't want spillages coming over the lip of the toilet for obvious reasons. You switch for the lights in the bathroom. Everybody wonders where they are. They're just under here. And then obviously your shower. Okay, so that concludes the video on this fantastic Ixeo I Limited 746. There'll probably be stuff I've not covered and probably got into too much depth on other stuff, but if there's anything you need to know, just make a note and I'll be happy to go through that with you on the day that you are collecting this fantastic new motorhome.